you know? Take into consideration that we are all scared at this moment because there's so much uncertainty taking place. Like this is still very much, you know, pandemic, which we're still in, Black Lives Matter movement, us just fearing for our own lives. But what she was saying was that with this Nazi, he himself is scared, and this is what he's embodying.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another video of Tea Time with Letitia on Gratified Grad, where it's my goal to help you graduate with gratification. Today's tea is a lemon balm leaf. It is, of course, a loose leaf tea, and a health benefit that's associated, or a couple that they claim to be associated with, is that it can help relieve stress, it can help reduce anxiety, it may boost cognitive function. It can help with sleep disorders such as insomnia, and it may help to treat cold sores. So once again, of course, these are all like speculated, and I mean, the FDA doesn't necessarily approve herbal teas as medicines, but you know, try it. I would definitely say read the side effects and risks, because I am not responsible for any side effects that you may experience. I can say, me personally, I did not experience any side effects, but you need to be aware for yourself. And I also want to just note that even though it's lemon balm, it actually has a minty flavor. I believe that this plant is a part of the mint family. So a little, what's the word? Whatever. With that, I'm going to let today's guest introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Rachel. I'm a first-year master's student. I'm studying bacteria on mushrooms, and the tea that I brought with me is actually a green tea jasmine-infused blend from the grocery store, and she is designed to energize and calm your nerves at the same time. Those are the two main things I can point out. So yeah.
That is a combination, energize and calm. That's good though, right? You can be energized and you still need to be able to keep your nerves.
Especially now. So yeah.
Right. So today's conversation is going to revolve around Zoom bombing. If you are unaware what a Zoom bomb is, it, in very plain terms, it is someone who jumps into a meeting, a Zoom meeting, and they disrupt the meeting. Well, in today's climate, Zoom bombings are not just a simple prank or a simple disruption. They also become quite racial and homophobic and just very, I can't even put the words out to them, but just not appropriate at all and very demoralizing to people in specific groups and things like that. So I did a whole video on the first Zoom bombing I ever experienced. I will link that up here. So if you want to check that video out, feel free to check it out. But it has happened to me yet again. And so here I am again wanting to have another conversation. Last time I had a conversation with a mental health therapist, Dr. Courtney Tucker. If you would like to see that conversation, the link will be up here. This time I want to have a bit of a different conversation with a fellow graduate student, and just talking about how we can navigate these things in the moment, in real time. I actually got to listen to a bit of a situation that Rachel experienced where they turned the Zoom bombing around, and the Zoom bomber was not as effective at being racial and being a racist as what they had hoped. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, but then also I kind of want to also talk about, you know, if there are any strategies that we as the receiving people can do to protect ourselves in the situation. So I think with that, I would love to hear about this large meditation. And it was a meditation session you were sitting on or sitting in to just make it even more egregious.
Yeah, that was the thing. This happened this recent summer, so 2020, when the Black Lives Matter movement was really at the forefront. And I just remember like going through these mix of emotions, you know, not being able to take a break from anyone because I had loved ones, friends, acquaintances all reaching out trying to ask these invasive questions. So this meditation seminar was basically designed for Black meditation wellness people who are on the Liberation app, which is something that I highly recommend. And um, basically, we took this Zoom meetup to basically heal. You know, we wanted to talk about all of the intense emotions that we were feeling, talk about how to work through these emotions and really embrace them, but then also just find comfort in our community, you know, have that be another method of our self-care, you know, break out into rooms, talk with each other. And basically the seminar, everything was good. We came in, it was a nice meditation that was at the beginning. Here we were, maybe like 300 Black people from across the globe, very niche, very, very tiny, you know? And we're all like coming out from like this nice, like maybe 30-minute meditation. So we're kind of like in this dreamlike state. And then as the main host decides to open up the floor and just be like, what did we experience? Like, what did we learn from this meditation while we're trying to heal? We hear one of the people just like, well, now we know it was a Nazi, unmute his mic. He was blasting this really heavy, loud metal music. And he had his name as like Julio something. So I think that's how he was able to sort of get into the event, because he registered under like, you know, very like ethnic name. And he started just hijacking the chat and was just throwing in all of these terrible, demeaning words and phrases, like saying that all of the victims of police brutality deserved it. Everyone here is next. Just went in. And as he's doing that, he's also yelling like the recent victims at that time were George Floyd. And he said, oh, like he for sure deserved it, and kept saying that, you know, just throwing in like these very demeaning names, calling us, threatening us, threatening our lives and our livelihood. And the host of the event, bless her heart, she was kind of on the other side, and she was still getting used to this whole Zoom format. So we're sitting here like coming down from a meditation high, instantly like transitioning into like this different state of mind, trying to figure out what's going on. You have people in the community saying, just block him, mute his mic. And it was just a bunch of chaos. And I'm just sitting here watching this all unfold. And basically the host at that time just decided to end the meeting. So I'm sitting there and my screen just goes black, and I'm forced to just stare at myself. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, this is a very tiny community. I didn't have enough energy in the day to begin with, but I worked up the courage to log into my computer, log into this Zoom community, and like try to work towards healing, you know? And to have this happen, I'm just kind of sitting in awe, because that was the first time that something like this happened. So I keep my inbox open, and the same host sends out an email for a new link saying, okay, we're going to try this again. And that's all that was said, right? With the Zoom link. So I'm like, do I want to do this? Like, I'm still processing, like, what's going on? So I'm just like, you know, let me see. I log back in, and there's probably like 150 people at this point, right? So basically the host said, you know what? Like, this isn't the first time that this has happened, and unfortunately it's not going to be the last. I really want to take this time to like acknowledge the strength that everyone here had to log back in, because this was a very invasive thing that happened, you know? And just instantly you see the Nazi again filling up the chat with all this hate, right? So we're all looking at this, and none of us can speak because we don't have that feature in this new Zoom meeting. And the host is like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna make this moment as it's happening live into a learning lesson. And she started he's still going, you know, just threatening us and all that good stuff, just filling up the chat. And she's like, you know, take into consideration that we are all scared at this moment because there's so much uncertainty taking place. Like this is still very much, you know, pandemic, which we're still in, Black Lives Matter movement, us just fearing for our own lives. But what she was saying was that with this Nazi, he himself is scared, and this is what he's embodying. But the difference between our fear and his fear is that he woke up with the pure intention or the sure intention to go and harass a community, one that he was not a part of, one that he was unfamiliar with. And he spent that energy that he was given that day to harass and threaten people. Whereas the Black people who were attending the seminar, we woke up with the intention to heal because we were all scared, we were all hurting, and we decided to use what energy we had to connect with people in our community. So as she's saying that, he's still going, right? Which is just crazy. And then she's like, I now encourage everyone who came back, and you can see that the numbers are slowly building back up to 300, which is what we had. And she said, I really encourage you all to just fill up the chat with words, quotes, phrases that have really gotten you through extremely tough times. So I'm just keeping the chat open because I'm just in awe of what's going on. And the first thing that I see someone put in the chat was, they try to bury us, but we were seeds. And then from there, it's just these amazing quotes from these Black authors throughout history. And just watching how like you're seeing so many of the community members like come out and like just fill the chat in with love. And then you slowly see the Nazi like ticker away and he like stops responding. And then after a while, like you don't really see him in the chat because it's just full with like love quotes, everyone's that's supporting one another. And then the guide, oh my goodness, so brilliantly, it was just like, you see, like at the end of the day, we also can't really try to understand why someone of this mentality would go out of their way to cause so much harm, because at the end of the day, we would go crazy if we tried to reason and figure out where this person's coming from. So like the best thing that we can do is just, you know, try to find support and comfort in our community, invest in people who are supporting us, and know that we're not alone. And like having that idea and having the new information, knowing that he himself is scared. Like this is what I see now. Like with a lot of these new Zoom bombings, a lot of these people are scared. If they were comfortable and weren't worried about anything, they wouldn't feel the need to go in and invade these spaces, you know? So she wasn't wrong. Unfortunately, that was not the first time and it's not going to be the last. But yeah.
I appreciate how you articulated that. Like that was very well spoken and very well said. It was a number of different things that like stood out to me when you were sitting at your computer, and it was after the first Zoom meeting was closed out, and you were just kind of like, what do I do here? Do I log back into Zoom? Do I not? Like that? I experienced that too. More so after this second Zoom bombing that I experienced than the first one. The first one, I guess I was just ready to fight back. Like I was just like, I'm not gonna let you sit here and make me feel like I can't get on my computer. But after the second one, I had a thought of, you know, what can I do? I can't, like the university thrives off of Zoom. So I can't sit here and say that I'm never going to log back on to Zoom. So it's just like that moment of, well, click, let's try it again. So that really resonated with me when you said that. And then the other thing that I thought was very interesting is the host's approach at just drowning out the person, because it does get to a point to where people are just like, okay, well, this isn't fun anymore. Like because I think that people do want to get a rise out of it. Like they want to entice something, cause some type of emotion in somebody else. But if you're not paying them any attention, it kind of just drowns them out. So I thought that was a really good I had to use the word beneficial in a moment like this, but to spread the strength and the peace that we have within ourselves, to put that out there, to drown out anything else, I think that is a good way to handle it. Like, we shouldn't be handling this, but here we are, we're doing it. And the other thing that came to mind, so when I experienced my Zoom bombing, I was actually doing other work as well as watching the session that I was in. And so, like, I had it in the Zoom in the corner of my screen. And so I wasn't getting a full on view of what was going on, but I could still hear everything that was going on. And it was a little while into the Zoom bombing before I actually realized that we were being Zoom bombed. Like, I was thinking, oh, she just turned on a video. And then, like, the video, it really was getting aggressive. And I'm like, what in the world does she have us watching? I'm thinking all of this is still a part of the session. And so then I go to click and I'm seeing these different things like scan across the screen. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This is a Zoom bombing. And like, at this point, so one, this isn't the first time that I experienced it. So like, it wasn't that, so whenever anything you experience, right, the first time you experience, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, this is the first time I'm experiencing it. And then for the nature of the content, like, that's another layer of shock. So I didn't have that shock of like, oh my gosh, this is my first time experiencing this, but it was still that layer of like, wow, like, this person is putting up these very traumatic images of Black people and situations. And so, I was sitting there just watching it for a little bit. And then I got to a point to where I was like, you know what? I don't need to expose myself to this. And so I just minimized the screen. Like, and I was just like, well, I'm gonna just, maybe she gonna get it under control or something. But I was like, I'm not gonna continue to sit here and watch this occur. I mean, it's essentially what ended up happening was she had to end the meeting because, I don't know, she couldn't figure out how to put the person out of the room. Like, I think she had figured out how to mute them, but she couldn't figure out how to put them out. And so they were still screen sharing and all that stuff. But for me, that was like a little bit of like a protective thing. The fact that it wasn't just full screen what I was seeing. It was controlled because it was in a smaller box and like I could minimize the screen whenever I wanted to. And it's that. So, the fact that you had the chat box up and open, like, how do you feel about the thinking back on that now? Like, was that helpful to you? Like, did you feel like you had got adapted to the situation by keeping the chat box open?
So initially when she said that, I was like, Rachel, are we really gonna do this? Because we know that he was still going at it. Like, I felt like he had to be working with someone because it's just the amount of things he was quickly able to insert into the chat, like these harmful sentences, there's no way he would have been able to work alone. So at first I was like, are we really gonna do this? But then when she said, I encourage you all to like incorporate your own like healing phrases into the chat, I was like, I have to see this. And it was one of the most like remarkable things I ever witnessed on a Zoom meeting, because you literally saw it in real time. All this hate, just everything he was laying out there, right? And then shortly after she said that, you're just totally bombarded with all of these amazing, inspiring quotes. Like, I wish I was able to document them because they were just coming from actual authors to like families and loved ones, and like even some from like the actual meditation guide. Like, it was remarkable. So seeing that transformation and then just seeing how the Nazis' comments were being drowned out to the point where he just stopped and you're just filled with all this love in the chat, like, it's one of the most amazing things. So it was scary, but at the same time, just watching that happen in real time, that was incredible. So I don't regret it by any means. Yeah.
Good.